Hello, we're here again on the Northeast campus of Mid-America Baptist Seminary, and we're here with Sean Pierce, who's a church planting strategist here in the Northeast. Sean, welcome today.
It's great to be here, Brad.
Well, let me just ask you a few questions. The first thing I want to talk to you about, and I want to ask you this, is here in the Northeast, how would you characterize the spiritual nature of people?
The Northeast is really a post-Christian world right now. So while we have a tremendous history and heritage with the Great Awakenings, we're a long time downstream from that. And so there's a heritage of that, but we're actually post-Christian.
Okay.
And so when we look at the generations, the generation of parents that are out there now are not terribly religious.
Okay.
They are spiritual, and they are very open to talk about spiritual things. In fact, it's very easy to talk to people about spiritual things, and even Christ. They want to hear and will engage, but their kids now are so far removed, they don't even realize that Jesus Christ, in many cases, is an actual person, believe it or not.
Wow.
So people are very open, and because of that, there's just a lot of things that happen on the back end of that with all the religions in the Northeast.
Well, with that in mind, are there places that you're seeing God move and God work up here?
Absolutely. It's amazing what God is doing, because we're seeing God create a hunger in people's hearts. Not everybody, obviously, but in many people, and it is amazing what God does. And I remember the first person in a church that I was planting that came to Christ, and honestly, it took a number of weeks of Bible study. This woman had come out of a fairly religious background and was programmed, you know, that you earn your way to heaven and all of that, and you make yourself good enough for God to accept you. And it took weeks of just sharing grace and Christ and what that all means. And I'll never forget the day she says, "I can't believe it's that simple.
Wow.
All I have to do is believe." And I knew at that moment that she understood the gospel and was converted. And so we're seeing God just do some amazing things through that, and churches are being planted and lives are being changed. People who initially are even resistant to the gospel, saying, "We don't need a church here." Just recently, one of our planters, it took him 6 or 7 months to get variances and approval to lease a facility for worship, and the neighbor, you know, really wasn't supportive in that process. But they had a block party, invited the neighbors over, and came, and the daughter trusted Christ, and now the family's coming and God's working. It's amazing to see God do that time and time again. People are open to the gospel.
Wow. Well, if someone that may be from another part of the country that says, "Well, I want to go up to the Northeast," what would you say are the needs, or why do they need to come up here to the Northeast?
Absolutely. Well, for one, we are the largest mission field in North America.
Explain that.
Yeah, what that means is there's only about 2% of the area that have a relationship with Christ, and we're in an area here where the seminary is located, where a quarter of the population of North America reside.
Wow.
And so it's a huge mission field. Apart from that, God is using regular, average, ordinary people. We're seeing God touch the hearts of lay people who are saying, "I'd be glad to move to that area and live." And part of a desire that God's been putting in my heart is Luke 10:10, and Jesus said that we should pray to the Lord of the harvest that He would send laborers into the harvest. And so it first starts with prayer, and that really is what we need, is people praying for us, that they would be praying for the Northeast. But then on the backside of that, He says, "All right, now guys, go out and actually live." Not just go, but live with the people. And we're seeing every time God sends somebody here locally calling out for the harvest, or even sending people from other parts of the country who live among the people, good things happen. People come to Christ. And it's just people who are willing to live authentically, humbly, and live their life and share the gospel along the way. And amazing things happen.
Well, that's great. Just kind of one last question here is, when we're talking about churches, how can churches be involved in the Northeast, churches that may be from another part of the country also?
Yeah. What we're discovering is there's just simply not enough churches. And even though we're post-Christian, and if a person comes here for the first time, they will see churches. Many of them are closed down. Even today, they're continuing to close. But there are very few churches that are actually sharing the gospel verbally and sharing with someone, so that they can actually understand in their worldview and in their own language, if you will, what it means to trust Christ and to live that out. And so the very best way that we're seeing things happen is the churches that are here that are focusing on evangelism and making disciples, but in turn raising up people and asking others to invite to reach and begin other churches because there's just not enough. And so church planting is a major emphasis for the Northeast. And Brad, my heart is not just for New York, but it's for all of New England. It's for the Northeast. It's for Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and Massachusetts, and Vermont, and Maine, Connecticut, and New York. And we need a church planting movement to happen where people have such a passion and desire to see God make disciples and continue that good news spreading, and it will result in churches across the area. And so we're really focusing on making disciples and starting churches out of those. And so, for other churches or lay people, businessmen, others, seminary students, this is a wonderful opportunity to be on mission with God and to see God do some amazing things. And so that really is our focus. And we're even beginning a new network that helps us reach across the whole Northeast. Right now we're focused primarily in Eastern New York, and you can see us on our website at www.hbany.net, hbany.net. And contact us if a church or somebody's interested. They can talk to us there. But we're also beginning, and God's using us to reach some other places. So like Saturday, I'm going to be in New England and Maine working with 30 African church planters and potential planters and pastors, trying to help them think about what would that look like for their area. And so anyway, it's exciting to be in the middle of what God's doing in the Northeast.
Well, great. Well, before we close, will you give me your website one more time?
Absolutely. www.hbany.net.
All right. Thanks, Sean. And thank you for joining us. And if you have more information about church planting or seminary training, be sure and visit our website also at mabts.edu. Thanks, Sean.